So before I even get too far into this video, big shout out to Logic Logan. Put a picture of his channel here. He's the video that one of his videos is the video that I watched that kind of prompted this video, or 100% prompted this video. Meh. So he made a video talking about how the Incredibles solved the power scaling, the power upping, what I don't remember what exactly he called it. It's this habit that superhero movies have, that the villain has to be just a little bit more powerful than the superhero in order to make the movie and the struggle seem realistic. But then the next movie has to increase the stakes again, and it just keeps infinitum. Then the Incredibles figured out that all you have to do to make the story relatable is give the superheroes a ceiling, a spot that their powers cannot go above. And the easiest way to see that is Mr. Incredible. He's got two obvious superpowers and one that's kind of not so obvious. The first one is obviously super strength. But here's the thing. Mr. Incredible's super strength has a very obvious limit. There's a montage in the movie in which he is working out, trying to lose weight. And he clearly chooses a train engine. There's the word I'm looking for. A train engine to bench press. Because it's just enough weight to give his muscles a workout, but it's not too heavy for him to lift, and if he happens to have a goof up, crush himself with, if you get what I'm getting at here. Elastigirl. Her stretching limit was never shown on screen, but they showed a couple other things in the first movie that I think were clever. For example, at one point she is stretching, and it's pretty obvious that her stretching isn't like Mr. Fantastic, whose stretching seems to happen because his body is intentionally pushing its muscles outward. Mrs. Elastigirl's power seems to operate under a little bit of friction is needed. She pulls herself forward slowly and then kind of throws her hand out and it stretches out.
Remember when they fell off the plane, she did that whole...
Yeah, the parachute thing.
Yeah.
One of her most famous things that she does is the parachute. She turns her body into a parachute. That happens not because she's throwing her body out, but if you watch, it happens because the air pushes up against her and stretches her out for her. Her ability is dependent on something else causing the stretch. Okay, so every ability that the Incredibles family has is dependent on something else assisting. Long story short is every single character in the first Incredibles movie, the film subtly shows you what their abilities ceiling is. Now, Logic Logan pointed out what Violet Parr's ceiling was. Nervousness. Her ability didn't function properly if she was nervous, if she didn't believe in herself. But he didn't do, in my opinion, he didn't do a very good job pointing out this one small spot where her powers had a kind of obvious cap. So Well, actually, come to think of it, that particular cap was still because she got nervous. So the Omnidroid, the big robot thing, was trying to swat Violet and Dash with its robotic hand. She threw a force field above them. It whacked the force field, got a little bit confused, whacked it a few more times, and you can see on Violet's face that she's scared, but it's more of a, yikes, something bad's about to happen to my brother, so I need to protect him. I know that particular feeling very well. So that fear is giving her adrenaline, which is actually helping her confidence. But as soon as the Omnidroid realizes, okay, this isn't working, let me try something else, and it goes to sit, if you call it that, on the force field, you can see Violet go like this. As she realizes what it's about to do, her confidence falters, and it's able to crush the force field. Okay, great. So it kind of falls within the power cap that he mentioned. I personally think that something super powerful could, like, the Omnidroid was designed to be stronger than Mr. Incredible. So something super powerful could still break her force field, even if she was confident. However, there's something that he didn't point out that I think is kind of interesting. Because every other superhero with Violet's powers is restricted by the exact same thing. And that is where the problem pops up that I wanted to point out. So, take for example, Invisible Girl / Invisible Woman from the Fantastic Four. She has almost exactly the same powers as Violet. She can turn invisible and she can make force fields, like things. They're not. I don't know exactly what they called them, but basically they're force fields. Invisible Girls are a little bit different than Violet's. And I've already made this comment at one point before I realized I should save my blabbering for when I'm actually filming the video. So Cass can answer this question, hopefully. What's the difference between Violet's force fields and Invisible Girl's force fields?
You said that Invisible Girl's force field is like flat.
Exactly. Now they're not quite flat. Invisible Girl's force fields in the live action movie are, for the most part, flat-faced. In reality, Invisible Girl's force fields, especially if you look at the comics and everywhere else that she's appeared, are whatever shape they happen to need to be. She's made a force field that's shaped like her at one point. Ugh. So here's the point that I'm making. Invisible Girl's force fields are whatever shape they need to be. Flat, if she happens to need to stand on one. Round, if she needs it to be round. Or, in the case of the oh-so-famous Ferris wheel tip-over scene, her force field bent into the shape of the Ferris wheel. Now, Cass, what's Violet Parr's force fields?
Domes.
Domes in some cases. Basically, spheres. Big balls. Every single time. For some odd reason, Violet Parr's, or, yeah, her name is Violet, that's the only thing they call her, Violet's force fields are always spherical. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it would be cool if they had made it different, but her force fields are always spherical. Now, here's something that I think is kind of interesting about her force fields. So, in the first time you ever see her use a force field, she throws a force field, theoretically throws it. It wasn't really throwing it. She threw her hand out. A force field popped up on the other side of the table where Dash was about to run, and he ran into it. It did not move. Dash ran into it going super speed, and it stayed in one spot. The force field did not move. I'm trying to think what the second spot was that she used the force field. She tried to use a force field in the plane, and it failed miserably. Then she started making force field bubbles pop up, trap ashes as they were rising from a fire. Then later on, she made a force field surround one of Syndrome's velocipods, and I'm not joking, that's what they're called. It's about as stupid as it sounds. But here's something that I did not remember until recently, which kind of, I thought threw my theory into the water until I finally realized what was actually going on. So during the chase scene, right before Violet does the whole throw a force field around a velocipod thing, which, by the way, was a huge force field, but that's beside the point. Dash gets punched away by one of Syndrome's henchmen. He lands, dazed, realizes the henchman's about to shoot him. Violet jumps in the way and throws a force field around the two of them. And then Dash promptly gets the brilliant idea of running inside the force field and rolling it along through the forest, jungle, woods, whatever you want to call it. I think it was a jungle, but whatever. For a split second, I thought the theory that I had come up with about her force fields were always stationary was debunked. Until I realized a very crucial detail. Violet's intention is what makes the force fields stay put. She made the first force field to intentionally as a barrier for for Dash to run into. It stayed put. She wanted to trap a velocipod. It stayed put. She intended to protect Dash. He's the one who got the brilliant idea of trying to roll with the force field. So somebody on the outside affected the force field, and that's why it could move. Same thing happened with the Omni Droid later on. She's trying to protect Dash. It smacks the top of the force field, forcing the force field to start going through the street and make this little crater in the street. Same concept. Kind of. There's a slight difference there that I honestly, at this point, I'm pretty sure I caught a goof up in The Incredibles. So if Violet made a dome, because she and Dash were standing on the street, so her force field would have been a dome, not a sphere. So exactly why is it that when she made a dome over the two of them, and the Omni Droid smacked the top of it, the bottom abruptly became a sphere to cause a crater in the ground? It doesn't make a lot of sense when you think about it that way. So I think I found a goof up in the movie. But here's the point that I'm trying to make about this. I think that the logic Logan kind of hinted at with Jack, but he didn't seem to notice it with Violet. In the second Incredibles movie, the very first thing Violet does with her force field is she sees a hunk of rubble about to fall downward onto two ladies, pedestrians, civilians, whatever you want to call it. She creates a force field and throws it. The force field literally flickers as it's not completely forming, stops above the two ladies, and breaks apart the rubble before it can hit them. When every other scene in the franchise established that Violet's force fields were stationary, why did they change it so that she could throw them? Well, first of all, they wanted you to assume that she learned how to do that between 1 and 2. Technically, not really, because 2 opens up after the track meet, and there was a specific amount of time between the blowing up of the house and the track meet. There's a little space of time there. So what the writers actually want you to believe is that without explaining it, Violet played around with her force fields and figured out she could make them move. Probably because everything else around her was acting on them and making them move. But here's the reason, the actual reason that the writers did it. Because they created a plot hole for themselves and needed something really fast to fix it. 2 different scenes in the Incredibles 2 movie. First one was Jack is the humongo baby. And yes, I said that because I think it's funny. He's the humongous version of himself. He starts crashing through the walls of a yacht. Not a very smart idea. But he starts crashing through the walls, shrinking down to normal size as he goes along. So the holes in the wall just get big, small, till they're baby size. And Dash is just barely able to kind of squeeze the corner of his skull outside the hole and look through it. They need the hole to be bigger so they can get through and follow him. So Violet makes a force field inside the hole, and magically it swells in size and makes the hole big enough for the 2 of them to squeeze through. Right. So they needed you to somehow just accept early on in the movie that she has learned how to do things with her force fields that you've never seen her do before. So that these 2 scenes you would just gloss over. The second one is the exact same concept. Well, the first one obviously is her throwing a force field and it travels through the air. The second one being her using a force field to widen a hole. The third one was Void trying to catch her. She makes a force field pop up right next to Void and it swells, throwing Void against one wall. And she does the same thing on the other side, throws her this way, throws her that way, throws her against the ceiling. But the only way she's doing it is that the force fields go whoop, whoop, boom, whoop, whoop, boom. They swell and throw her. I'm pretty sure that's not how her force fields pop up. But okay, I get it. You made yourself a plot hole. Violet does not know how to fight. That's what the force fields were originally designed for. Defense. And you realized that Void could use a portal to get inside her force fields. So you had to figure out something else that her force fields can do to fight a character that makes a force field useless. Well, next time, why don't you just figure out a way to make it so the character that she's fighting isn't the one that negates the force field? Duh! Rather than give her a brand new superpower ability and destroy the thing that the first movie solved, the power-upping thing, just pick a different character to fight Violet. Instead of Void, how about use the electric guy? The electricity guy can shoot electricity at her, which she's already demonstrated earlier in the movie. She can defend herself against that. But virtually every other character, she can't. Reflux, she can. He spews lava. The electric guy, she can. He shoots electricity. The crushing guy, no, she can't. Void, no, she can't. The weird-looking owl character, I have absolutely no idea because they didn't use that guy a whole lot in the movie. So, just pick a different character to fight her. You ruined the very thing that you solved in the first movie. Again, big thank you to Logic Logan for giving me the idea for this particular video. Go see his channel. I will put a link in the description to the video that I watched that gave me this idea. And I will put a link in the description to his general YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. And happy trails. Apparently Cass isn't going to say it.
Happy trails!